Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of the Speed Dogs Fishing Jamboree. As always, glad to see some of you already here, ready to go. I'm still have my coffee, so I will be mentally there, probably by mid-time through this next run. We have I Am Fish coming up, which is quite a game. Actually, just as a little fun fact, a bunch of the Spyro boys and we did a blind race of I Am Fish, and it took me just over 5 hours, so we'll see if they do it quite a bit faster than me today. We have already reached the bonus incentive for that, which is the space level. I didn't try that, so I'm excited to see it. Just as a little heads up, coming up for our next run, we have the very lovable Dayman, who's going to be playing Smart Ball, and his bonus incentive is to defeat the wizard. We never miss incentives here, so that is only $14 away, hoping to see some love come for that soon. And we are just a couple minutes away from getting started. Hope everybody slept well and is ready for another fun day. Alright, actually, sure enough, we are ready to get going. Without any further ado, here is Pootloops with I Am Fish.
This is a fish. A clownfish, actually. He lives in a reef like this, in an ocean like this. This ocean contains these currents. These currents help carry fishing boats like these. Fishing boats like these bring their catch to port. Their catch is loaded onto this truck and delivered to this restaurant. This restaurant serves dinner to this family. This family drives back to their home. Their home borders this forest. This forest surrounds this creek. This creek trickles into this river down to these mangroves. These mangroves buffer the coastline from this bay. This bay is a hunting ground for this shark. This shark swims out to this ocean. This ocean flows over this reef. This reef is home to this fish. This is a fish. A clownfish, actually.
Alright, everybody, it is time for our first run of day 2. With me today, we have Pootloops. Welcome in, Poot.
Hello, everybody. I'm Pootloops. I'm joined with a fantastic couch. We have RNL, one of the other speedrunners, top speedrunners, and Eterns, or Luke, from Bossa Studios. So could you both give yourself a little introduction?
How you doing, everybody? I'm RNL, glitch hunter for this game, former record holder. Happy to join you guys.
Yeah, I'm Luke, lead designer at Bossa Studios, and I was the lead designer on I Am Fish. And thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks both for joining. We're going to get into the run. Generally, when we do marathon runs, we go in fish order. It doesn't start yet. No worries. I'll count you down. Time does... for this run, we're going to be doing goldfish, flying fish, piranha, and puffer, which is the order I do when I normally speed run. The main reason we would normally do it a different order is because there's somewhat of a story in this, and we like to go story order, but today we're going to go in the speedrun order. So with that being said, I'm going to count us down. 3, 2, 1, start. So get into Goldfish 1. And we'll let Luke kind of talk a little bit about the development for a bit as we start it off.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said there with this idea of a speedrun order and a story order, that isn't a thing, really. I mean, it was always designed that you could do any fish in any order. Even though there are certain events, obviously, that kind of, I guess, they change based on what you've already played. So, like, you know, I'm guessing a lot of it's to do with Greg at the airport, right?
Absolutely.
It's all based on what happens to Greg and his responses.
Yeah, but the way I see it is if you play Flying Fish first, like, Greg's already having a bad time, like, and you don't know that, you know, in that case, you don't know that yet, and then all the other stuff then stacks on top of that. Or you can play it the other way, and all the bad stuff happens, and then he's trying to leave.
We like to joke around that if you play Goldfish and then you play Flying Fish, Greg's having a bad week because he lost his bucket, and he loves his bucket so much.
Yeah, or there's that. Yeah, or there's maybe other things.
Yeah, he's already breaking down.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, this was basically the first level that we did. It's actually very reminiscent of the prototype that we released in like 2019, end of 2019. So I kind of already had a blueprint for the first level because we saw that was, you know, from the game jam. That's what what got the game greenlit, right?
I actually had a question for you. One of the few changes I saw on this level from the demo was the bag placement on Pet Shop. Was there any reason for that, or did you just decide to switch it up?
No, well, I mean, one of the reasons was just to keep it sort of safe, right, for the majority of players. So all the last additions was the extra fish in the bowl, and that was so you could 9 times out of 10 you knock it off the table, and then you realise that, hey, if that fish bowl didn't smash, then mine must not either. So it was those little things like that you know, it's really handy to get playtesters playing it, because, you know, you can see when they question, like, am I going to die if I fall off here? Especially if they've died earlier in the level, because they'll know that, hey, I can smash, I can die. And so that was just a really sort of nice way of just teaching them, like, hey, that fish didn't die, so maybe you won't.
Yeah, oh yeah. Speaking of the mechanics, because some people probably haven't played this game, if you fall too hard, your bowl will break.
You're probably about to see that right now when he gets hit by a car.
Yes, yeah, there's a good chance here. This is Bossa decided that car NG was a good thing to start the game off with, and
it did come up a lot in development. I know QA.
So here we go. See if we can get hit into the water. We can't, so we have to respawn.
QA raised it and were like, it shouldn't be RNG, and I said, look, in the real world, you can't predict how you're going to cross the road. You just have to time it and find a good spot.
And speaking of which, this should be good.
I still hold out that as a speedrunner, it's probably going to be faster if you just waited just a second or two.
It's not,
to check the road.
And here's why. You can get hit by the car into the water, and it is the fastest way to end the level.
Yeah, technically speaking, the fastest way to end the level is to get hit by one of the cars going to the right.
Yep.
To actually have it throw you into the water. There's no way to predict it, but some of the fastest runs have accidentally ended that way.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that, actually.
The actual game originally was going to be a little bit more open-ended. You know how in I Am Bread there was loads of sort of a few ways you could toast yourself. There was almost like an open-ended aspect to the levels, just as long as you became toast. And Fish wasn't originally going in that direction.
Many ways to get to the ocean.
Yeah, it was just get to the ocean by any means possible. But then when we started to sort of focus a little bit more on story and things like that, we knew that we sort of needed you to stay in your bowl at the end of level 1. We didn't want a situation where narratively you kept getting to the ocean and then for some reason you were backtracking. We thought that would get a bit tiresome.
Yeah.
Every time you got to the ocean, it was oh, never mind, now you're back on land again.
Yep, that makes sense.
And that's what led us to actually develop having other fish to play as, because we knew we had to obviously keep setting you back, otherwise getting to the ocean, sort of ends there. And so that's kind of how that all sort of generally evolved into
I love that.
Structure that we have.
It's infinitely expandable too. You could have an I Am Fish 2 with just 4 new fish, just saying. Or DLC
exactly,
and all sorts of fun things. Little sturgeon.
I would love to see a DLC with the new fish.
Yeah, sturgeon simulator mode, of course, and all sorts of things. I was gonna say real quickly, there's a thing at the beginning. Some levels we have little quick skips where we just avoid checkpoints for the rest of the level. If you skip a checkpoint in this game, you have no more checkpoints for the rest of the level. So for marathon safety, I didn't do those skips. You can jump off the box or you can jump off the ladder. The ladder one's really hard, but we didn't do that because I would have no checkpoints the rest of this level, and that can be a problem.
Now, there are going to be a couple levels later on where it just saves too much time, and we're going to have to skip checkpoints.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to take that risk.
Oh yeah, risk's abundant in this speed run, and I actually love it. The reason why I do flying fish before the others, specifically, or why I called it the speedrun route, is flying fish is just a very risky fish. But
yeah, it was probably the toughest fish in terms of just the content, the levels, for various reasons in development. So it's why comes out as the hardest, and that's not deliberate. That's just
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Here's our buddy Greg. We're also waiting for the I Am Greg game to come out, of course.
Yep. He was actually named Greg like really late in development. Throughout the entire development, he was just called the unfortunate antagonist, and it was kind of important that he wasn't really like, we wanted him to be a little bit pathetic. So that's, you know, when I was doing the voice direction and I was doing the writing, I wanted him to just be like a bit of a sorry state of a man. And we just wanted you to basically feel sorry for him. Like, he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The fish aren't being malicious towards him, and he's not necessarily malicious towards the fish.
Oh, he is right here.
Well, here,
and he used to be way worse. He used to be way worse. If you remember, he was a monster. In the demo, he was his own kind of speed runner. Now he's gotten a little slower.
No, I think that there was a bug probably in the beta where his speed was dependent like on your frame rate. So if you had like a good computer, he was really quick.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
We had people being like, he's really hard now. Like, different people on different machines saying how difficult Greg was, and I was like, when I obviously run it in engine,
that is eye-opening. He was a speed demon, and when I was playing this game, I was like, you touch a rock, you were done. Also, the rocks were a lot worse too.
Yeah, originally, when I'm balancing the numbers and stuff, I'm on a machine that's having to handle all the back-end engine stuff, right? So it's probably running at not 60 plus FPS. So when I was balancing, I was like, that speed seems about right. It seems pretty generous. So then, as soon as someone played it like on a standalone build or something, they were like, Greg's really quick. He's really hard. And I was like, there's no way.
That's amazing. That's such a fun fact. I didn't know that. I'm gonna let RNL talk a little bit about Scotty here. That's been named by the community.
Yeah, so we are about to meet Scotty. Here we go. There he is. He is now sharing a fishbowl with another fish, and Scotty adds a few. He changes the mechanics of the game just a little bit. Let's take a moment just to appreciate this room. This is the first level of I Am Bread. This level here, and you can actually hear the music playing from I Am Bread coming from a boombox up on the counter. But Scotty will push against the bowl in completely unpredictable ways. He picks where he wants to go, he tries to swim there, and if he pushes against the bowl, it's whatever it is. He'll also kind of add weight to the bowl. So if you're on a ledge, he can easily make you fall off. And this is all about to become relevant in about 5 seconds when Poot here tries to do what we call Scotty Rock Skip. And Scotty Rock Skip, because of how unpredictable Scotty is, we used to think that it was just impossible to get through a run because of the RNG. And one day I sat down and I said, I am not doing a run until Scotty blesses the run and lets me through.
The run is blessed. The run is blessed.
And so I got that working, and Pootloop started doing it too, and now it's just kind of just canon within the speedrunning community that we do not move forward unless a run is blessed, and if
might be
bad car RNG there.
Well, that's fine. I wish it was coming from the right side. I'm just gonna wait on this one.
About to get more bad car RNG.
We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait.
Careful.
Yeah.
But, so Scotty has blessed. Now that Scotty Rock Skip has been performed, we say Scotty has blessed the run.
Yep. And you can go under those cars, which is kind of why I was just trying to brute force it.
Yeah, you only brake if you hit the tires.
Unless it's a bus, in which case you brake. The buses are the worst.
Big tires.
But they don't have buses on
there. You would have enjoyed it earlier on when Scotty had the same same force on the bowl as the player did.
No, that's terrible. He's already a pain in the butt because he can.
So his current kind of impact on the bowl is like a fraction of what it used to be.
Yeah, you can't actually die in that little scene right there.
Yeah, the worst part of it is that once you get onto the rocks, if Scotty can swim all the way to the right and try to push you off the rocks, and just his weight on the other side can make you fall.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I was aware, that
what it's like if he could push against the bowl as hard as you could. I would hate to see that. I'm lying. I would love to see that. Please send me a development build.
That's
no,
terrible.
there was a lot more skips in that that kind of scaffold area early on. I probably spent several hours in that one section alone, just trying to block off every possible skip. Turns out I missed that last one. Well, I didn't miss it. I know specifically. That's why there's literally rocks there. It's because that should have been able to block you, but I'm guessing
you can roll just enough. Well, it's a little forgiving. You need
a great deal of speed.
Yeah, you need speed. If you don't have enough speed, you won't do it. So most a casual player is not gonna find that accidentally for sure.
Yeah. This is the
refund. It took us a while to find a way to do it reliably.
This is actually my favorite vehicle in the game. This is my favorite vehicle in the game for sure.
You're the only.
You and I are opposites.
Yeah, as a casual player, when I went through this, I went through all the stages of grief.
Oh, with the jar. The jar's the best though. You can just go so fast with it. So I love it. I will say,
I absolutely hate the jar.
We're gonna attempt the moto skip, by the way. I know it's not gonna happen, but we're gonna attempt it anyways once, because I think I gave myself a 140 estimate, and we should have plenty of time. So we're gonna try it. Moto skip has never been done in a individual level, but we know it's possible. We could probably use
I'd like to take a minute to explain that for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about. So the idea here is to get into the water and just to fall into the water. And there's a house over there that normally you fall on top of after the scaffolding falls all around you. We have two ways of falling into the water early, and he's about to attempt the third way. If you fall at just the right spot, with just the right speed, and we have not figured out how to make this consistent.
We're not doing it again. It's not happening.
You will hit these rocks, and you will fly directly into the water, just because the physics say you can.
Yeah, I'm not doing it again. It failed, but you know what? I'm not really surprised. I hit the tree.
No matter how many times we try, we have not found a consistent setup for this, but each one of us has gotten it in practice, so we know that it's possible.
And I've gotten it 3 times in a row before.
I don't know if we'll ever make it consistent, but seeing it in action is amazing.
There's actually a couple ways you can end this level early. We're going to do the one that we mainly do in our any percent runs.
There's a slightly slower way that involves going to the right and falling directly into the water. It's a little bit slower, but you'll see it in the 100% runs.
Then there's
there is bread over there.
Yeah, there's the intended way, and then there's also the intended way where you go that route, but you just roll off the end instead of hitting the scaffolding. So, but that's not faster than any of them. So
another where I tried for hours, just blocking off all the ways you could skip the scaffold collapse.
That ain't happening.
But no, didn't quite plug all the holes.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't, because the less jar time, the better, even though I enjoy it. We want to save time. We're on to flying fish here, which used to be my least favorite fish and has grown to be my favorite fish as I've speedran this more and more.
Flying fish can spend so much time out of the water in such a free way that flying fish just begs us to find new skips.
Oh, it does.
Flying fish begs us to push the limits of how far can we go.
And the IL strats for flying fish levels, like, you could skip so many checkpoints, and it's hilarious.
It's actually possible to do flying fish 2 while skipping the first checkpoint.
Yep.
It's not faster, but it is possible.
Yeah, that was a cool thing you found. Eterns probably doesn't know about that one, but that one's amazing. It's just like, you can actually, that first section, we'll talk about it when we get there, but this first section, you think you couldn't get past it, but you can, and it's amazing.
Flying fish we sort of embraced. I mean, one of the sort of things that worked for this game, just from on paper design, was that we knew that no matter what, the fish couldn't survive very long outside of water, so that you're always going to die. So that kind of let us have a little bit more freedom with the openness of like levels. And you know, when you see with the pufferfish, you can roll. The flying fish obviously can fly. Now, ordinarily in a game, you'd be like, if we give your character this ability, it's really hard to rein it in, and you've got to be really clever with level design. Obviously, there's going to be holes and gaps in this game, but we always had that fallback, which was, hey, they're still going to suffocate after like X amount of seconds.
Except on this level where we found a way around that a little bit. But yeah, I do really like that. Sort of. Yeah, we kind of abused something.
I mean, you brush the fishmonger water, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a little section of what Luke would call shallow water.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that. Grab the bread for the swag.
It's
There's a couple of instances where we know that it does show up a lot more, but you wouldn't know it. So, for example, like in the level we just did, when you get fired out of the fountain, when you're like in the bit where it's like shaking and then it fires you out, that's counted as out of water. So I've actually got little shallow colliders, and I think there's one like right before you hit the bench when you have to flop into the jar. There's one right before you hit that to give you a maximum amount of time, breathing time when you hit the bench, so you have time to kind of panic, look around, figure out what to do. If we didn't have that, you basically hit the bench and have a couple of seconds. And it wasn't very.
Anytime you hit one of those spouts that shoots you forward, you also have shallow colliders there.
Yes.
Which is why in Flying Fish 2 for a while, the spouts didn't. You could die even if you hit a spout until a future patch when shallow colliders were added to those in Flying Fish 2.
Yeah.
Which is actually the reason that we can do some of the fastest strats in Flying Fish 2 now is because of that.
We're doing a little safe backup here. I didn't like the jump I took.
It's actually possible to end the level from this platform if you're crazy enough.
Yep. Yeah, it's once you get really good with flying fish, you find that you could do some pretty wonky things.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff we love to do. Is just have it kind of inherently be physics based, and then you can. There's a little bit more fun with it.
So here's the bucket skip. We're basically hovering low there on that fish just to make sure we get a second breath for the fish.
Just low enough to hit the shallow collider, not low enough to actually be grounded.
And you can see we have just enough time from doing that to make it to this next puddle and then end the level. That was pretty good Flying Fish 1, all things considered.
That was a beautiful Flying Fish 1.
Yeah, well done.
Well done. First try
on the bucket skip. Yeah, that's good.
That last canopy was a late addition as well. Before that, we had you needed the bucket, and you'd have to angle it right before that in the gap before that canopy, and you'd have to launch yourself out of the bucket and fly. And it was just the bucket was too small.
As a casual player who has tried jumping out of the bucket, I appreciate that change.
Yeah, it was too tough. So then we added the canopy, and so it's even if you're supposed to be in the bucket at that point, it's quite easy to jump out and just land in the canopy, rather than try to make a flight to the well.
So this is the area that Poot was talking about earlier. It's actually possible to fly directly out of this area, just flying directly to the next checkpoint from here, missing this checkpoint entirely so that you do the entire level with no checkpoints. It's not faster than hitting the first checkpoint, but it is possible.
However, now for IL strats, you would skip a ton of checkpoints at the beginning. We did find our most recent skip. I'm not going to do it because that is very not marathon safe. But it's not even really any % run safe at the moment. You would skip a ton of checkpoints here. We would basically hit the tower early, raise the water level, which is what you're supposed to do, and then we would jump in the cart and jump all the way over to later section in the game. But we're not going to do that. Instead, we're just going to do an out of bounds and get the next checkpoint to be safe.
So I've gotten pretty deep into this game, trying to mod it and explore the levels. And we had a live stream that we did once, me, Pootloops, and Marshino, where we used a lot of these hacks and mods that I had added in order to just explore what kind of new skips we can find. And that was a really fun one that we figured out. We played a lot with how the water levels work.
Dang.
Yeah,
when you hit this
level
checkpoint,
was,
the water levels go up.
Yeah.
Which is how we're able to do the out of bounds skip. But it turns out if you hit that tower early, the water levels go up just enough that if you skip the rest and you hit the little sign that Pootloops was talking about by jumping into the minecart and then jumping over everything, you have just enough time before you die that the water levels go up before you die.
Yep. It's pretty cool. The first time we tried it, we tried doing it with like the little water jet stream, but we realized that we would just die before the water raised enough. But once we combined it with Caudy's tower, which is Caudy was the member that found that you could knock the tower early. I'm stuck under some physics stuff right now.
It's the that little alert sign has a weird collider on it.
Yeah, the amount of times I've gotten caught on that, or the cart getting stuck entirely, is insane. I get so mad.
Effect of a physics game.
This level kills my runs quite a bit, but I don't get that mad because honestly, I get to reset and not deal with Flying Fish 3, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Flying Fish was probably the toughest journey in development.
So that pipe I just hit there, we can actually hit that earlier. That's the skip I was talking about for individual.
This water spout is what you hit when you skip everything else.
And what's funny is you can bounce off that water spout into this water spout, and then like you don't even have to wait for it to fill up, because you could just continue the level. And that hasn't happened yet. And when it does, if that person finishes the run, they're probably going to have an uncontested world record for a very long time.
That would be amazing. I've actually never even seen it happen, but I've only heard of it.
Marshino's come really close, or I think it's gotten hit by it, but hasn't. It's definitely doable, though.
Just like this checkpoint can be skipped too by flying directly to that button.
Yep. You can also take the water spout and then deploy your wings, so you get the breath refresh and turn around, but that's just like extra stuff, so. There's another skip we can do here where since we hit that button early, I can go all the way to this water spout and let the cart kind of continue its momentum, but I'm going to let it stop because it is kind of risky. You'll just have to respawn if you miss it, so I'm just going to...
So long as you don't fall in the cart early, because once you fall in, you can't jump out.
Yeah, you also, like, if you fall into it weird, the fish can actually push the bucket back even though it's going fast. It's kind of strange. Alright.
So that originally, we were going to make you have to actually time the jump out of the minecart.
Otherwise
you collapsed.
Did you stop that because the fish was pushing it back, or?
No, it was just, again, like physics, nature of the fish, the way the minecart works, requiring the player to like leap out, to have enough time to clock it and then leap out of it. It was just too much of a, you know.
Yeah, I understand. That makes sense.
You had to die to know it was happening, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that would be very frustrating. Hey, but aren't bossa games supposed to be frustrating? Although I'd say this is like the least frustrating of the bossa games I've played.
So kind of, but at the same time, you don't want to be, you know, there's a line. You have to kind of straddle, you know.
Yeah, that would
be a lot more approachable than games like I Am Bread too.
For sure.
Yeah, like for example, you know, you're not using bossa controls, right? And there was a decision quite early on to be like, let's have you know, a normal control scheme and also make it the default.
Yeah, I think I specifically remember putting in the feedback that hurt my hands. I said in order to speedrun this hurts my hands. I think I said that in my feedback.
Yeah.
So Poot's about to try a skip called Elevator Skip. You'll notice he doesn't have a bucket right now. And when we do IL strats where we don't have any checkpoints, that's where this becomes a huge problem. If you don't have checkpoints and you miss this jump, it is over. Luckily, he did make the jump.
Yeah, so we could have gone for the IL strats, but that's the main reason why I wouldn't go for it. Is like that jump in particular is not easy. But I love it. That's one of my favorite skips in the game. Anyways, we're on to Flying Fish 3, which is the
most problematic level.
Yeah, this is where it gets really spicy.
Yeah, so
we have dropped this level by minutes by making it harder and harder to run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the level in terms of if you ask anyone who worked on the game which level causes the most problems, it would be this one.
Yep.
This is my favorite level. I am continually impressed by how much level you were able to fit into such a small space.
Oh, well, you've done your little hacking to look at it out from the outside.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we could have done, but Bossa did put in good, like, stop gates that we couldn't we couldn't skip more than like there's other potential skips, but the stop gates kind of like put us
Just one. Just one big one.
One big one that really makes me sad. But
carousel collider. If you put an activation carousel collider in just the right spot, we would be able to skip even another 3 minutes of this level.
yeah, I am gonna be getting a lot of
all that harder too.
I'm gonna be grabbing a lot of checkpoints here. I would normally only grab like 2 more checkpoints, but again, marathon, so we are gonna grab a few. But then there's gonna be a point where we're gonna go with no checkpoints, and I'm doing this early on just to kind of gauge my time for later on, rather than saving this level for last, I guess.
Don't have to be right now, but let me know when I have a moment to interject.
Go for it. This is a fine time. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you. And just as a reminder to everybody, although I'm getting lost in this run, this is a charity marathon benefiting the WWF Endangered Species Conservation. And very recently, we just had CJ dropping a $50. And shout out to the best host in SDAT history. Oh, you. Then Katie Jenkins coming with 14, finishing off the Dayman incentive to defeat the Wizard in Smart Ball. So thank you very much. You definitely help. $36 from shoutouts to Drag. So shoutouts to Drag from everybody here. And $40 from Quoconut. Just a little flush. Can we see some flushes in our chat?
Flushes?
Thank you, everybody.
We flushed the fish down the toilet? I hope not. Alright, yeah, so I went back to that fountain to grab the checkpoint. If I'm running this in any percent, no joke, because of some things later, I just don't do checkpoints from this point on. So we could pretend that we don't have checkpoints here, and you could see how so much of this would be very scary. In fact, I don't even know if I did this jump right or not. It's going to get close on breath. I think we're good.
Well, there's a point coming up very soon where if you miss the jump, any percent's not viable anymore.
Yeah.
So if you're... And you have to do the rest without checkpoints, so it just became useless to get the early game checkpoints, because if you miss a jump, the run's over anyway.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Luke coming up in a minute about something, but I'm going to wait until we get there. If you want to talk about this level a little bit, Luke, go ahead, as I do the bucket section.
I mean, this section here actually was one of the earliest examples I sort of put together prototype-wise for the flying fish when we were sort of, you know, cause when I suggest like to art and devs that like, hey, they've got an idea for an airport level, people are obviously, they're like, really, an entire airport, like how are we going to pull it off? Like how do you move a fish through that space? Like, because also, you know, you want to utilize the abilities of the fish, right? So that's why we have a completely illogical like fountains in departure lounge. They don't make too much sense, but they make just enough sense that you don't necessarily question them. But they're just perfect for having the fish kind of sweep through like a busy sort of airport zone.
You know, it never once came off as illogical to me.
Yeah, that part kind of got swept away with a little bit of a part that's coming up later.
Here we have Greg. Take a minute for Greg here. Poor Greg.
Poor Greg.
He's so upset that he lost his bucket. Poor Greg.
Yeah.
The only reason he's there is because we when we planned out all of the moments that Greg was going to be involved and what was going to happen to him, what set pieces he have, we got quite far through development, and I realised that Greg had nowhere in the flying fish journey, and I was like, he doesn't show up, and so I quickly hacked it together, and I just thought, hey, if I can just, you know, because we were going to the voice recording soon, and I thought, oh, okay, if I just get a line for Greg at the airport, I can just post him at the airport like having a rough time, and that will just be enough, and he'll also make an appearance in the flying fish journey. So that's why Greg doesn't necessarily get screwed over by
gotcha.
flying fish.
So I'm taking a checkpoint here, yeah.
Poot is going for one of several variations on this. You're supposed to take that bucket all the way to just before this checkpoint and then jump in. It's faster the way he did it, jumping directly from the bucket, and he's about to do the hardest skip in the game. It actually is possible to do the skip directly from the bucket. Nobody's pulled it off in an any percent run, except for IL.
I think I may have. I'm not sure.
In a full game any percent?
Yeah, but I think it was...
I don't think anybody's jumped directly from the bucket.
Certainly not my PB, but I think I did it in a kind of casual playthrough that I decided to go for it.
But here's where the hardest jumps in the game kick in, so we should give Poot a minute of silence to pull this off.
Yes, please. I didn't really think about it, but yeah, that'd be great. Hopefully
this is the hardest jump in the game, the hardest jump in the run. And from here on out, he's going to have to complete the rest of the level with no checkpoints.
We're going all the way down here.
Including
Yeah.
several RNG-based jumps.
And you know what? I'm probably, just because we got it pretty fast, I may go for the little spice. Maybe I shouldn't, but
It's really just a matter of what suitcases you see coming up. Go
Yeah.
for the spice if you see the right suitcases.
I need one more.
As person with no knowledge, send it.
Send it. Well, we're not sending it fully. We're gonna just go for this one. Maybe I should have, because this is getting kind of spicy here.
No,
yeah, that's
no. You're gonna have to go. You're not gonna be able to get it. There's not
No.
a suitcase for you.
I should have gone for the There's gonna be a little bit of delay on the Discord stream, I think. But I'm gonna go. We'll not go for it next time. We'll just go for it regular. That's fine though. So yeah, you would normally just restart your whole game at that point.
Yep,
But
that's okay.
that's what happens. I mean, yeah, you can jump straight from the bucket and go through that little hole over there on the right and go straight to this thing, but it is very tough timing. Oh, I hit the bottom. It's okay.
You're right. There is just a little bit of delay.
Yep. I realized that based on some of the conversations. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask Eterns, you could talk during this. Water suitcases.
Yeah.
This is why the fountains didn't bother me.
I mean, there's a number of leaps in logic here, but we were sort of trying to, get a story together, which was, I believe, yes, when you collapse the vents and stuff, it creates a spark, and then basically the idea is it's broken the kind of the luggage sorting thing somewhere in there, and now like luggage have burst open and they're filling with water. I think there was gonna be sort of clothes and stuff in the bottom of these suitcases to sort of show that they were like somehow when the machine broke, when you broke it just kind of messed up all of the suitcases and their lids come up and then they got filled with water because.
So how'd they get unzipped? Was that just TSA stealing things, or?
Who knows? I mean, there's if you play the level like properly without your dirty skips, you do go through like security. So and that's kind of where they come from. So it's almost like, you almost like set off the open suitcases. There is an awful lot of them, and that was purely because.
No! Oh, it was so close. Darn, I shouldn't have done it.
Sorry.
No, it was my fault.
Oh, I just saw it on my end. That was so close.
Yeah, and it was set up right for the fast one. I'm sorry.
The good news is you can miss this quite a few times.
It's still
and it is
faster
still
than the
faster
auto-scroller.
than doing the auto-scroller.
Auto-scroller
The
is so
auto-scroller
slow.
takes so much time
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the auto-scroller the legit way you're doing it?
Yes, the legit way where you actually end up going through that conveyor on the right.
Yeah, that's where you go through the fish bowl.
The fish
and
bowl,
you have
yeah.
to take the fish bowl all the way across. Speedrunners will do anything to skip an auto-scroller, no matter how hard.
Yeah.
Even me putting you through this.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, the RNG there. That's unfortunate. It's like a 50-50 coin flip. So the way the sorter works is it's like 50-50 which side it's going to go. Once we get through this level, it's going to be smooth sailing for the rest of the run, by the way. Or should be. There's like a couple others, but this is the worst one.
It is possible to slow down to lose a couple of minutes in Puff or 2.
Puff
Other than
2,
that,
yeah.
it's smooth sailing.
I am going to go for Greg Poops and Puff 3, by the way.
Oh, good luck on that.
I got it the other day.
We'll talk about that more when it comes up, but that's another thing that we haven't quite been able to figure out how to consistently manipulate.
No problem.
Would like to give some shout outs. It's kind of nice to see when I played through this level, the luggage definitely functioned funnily, I'll say. So it looks like it's very consistent now.
There was a lot of
awesome.
fixes here, yeah.
Yeah, there was a period where there was a bug in place where the suitcases would just kind of ignore the conveyor belt and get all bunched up. Luckily, that was fixed pretty quickly, but the people who played it during that time were probably very confused.
Yeah, we still have a little bit of trauma left over from these suitcases. So. It's a very elaborate system, and then you throw in physics into that.
Surely I can
require
get
the
this.
player to navigate it. And, yeah, I mean, it's one of the like appealing aspects of it is like, you know, how do you take a fish and put them in kind of familiar or, you know, obviously very human environments, and then how do they make their way through it? That was always like where the fun is in designing the levels.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes you get into an environment that just really doesn't want fish. It's really hard to make a sort of semi-logical way that the fish can actually move through the space. Oh, fuck.
All right, I'm gonna go for. I'm just gonna do the regular way at this point. I'm failing this quite a bit, so we're just gonna go auto scroller, and that way we'll be all right on time. I'm pretty sure.
This gives a good opportunity to see exactly how they made such a long level in such a small space, because we're going to come back through this area just in a completely different way.
Yeah. You'll see this area again.
And it took me a little while the first few times I played this before I realized exactly what was going on, that I was going through the exact same space, just in a different direction in a different vehicle.
Yeah, and I actually we had one I Am Fish race ever, and I decided I failed it so many times that I decided I had a really big lead against RNL, and I decided it would be better to just do the auto scroller because I was failing it so many times. And even though RNL failed it, I think a couple times, I don't remember, she caught up and ended up winning the race. Oops.
Behind, like a good 5 minutes before that too.
It's been so long since I've done this start.
That is one of the smallest checkpoints in the game.
My goodness. Come on, fish.
I'm
I'm having a meltdown. We're having a meltdown today.
I actually think it's better to go over than under here.
It's just been a while since I've done this section, but we're good. All right, we're through it. And we do have to go on.
You required to drop into these, you know.
No way.
There.
You can't just roll into them.
Impossible.
So that's why, like, just through generosity, we were like, you know what? If you just get close enough to the vehicle, we'll just throw you in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. That especially for the jar on Goldfish 3, where you have to roll off the bench. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh.
I can imagine because that's.
Yeah, you can't. You don't even need to imagine. All right, so we're gonna see the whole level.
I am once again asking you to send me development builds.
Here we go.
Never did fix those sparks either. That's where you see those little sparks that appear on this level.
Oh, I didn't even notice that over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can if you do end up doing this route, and you can see how much time it loses. At this point, if I had done this first, I think we probably would have been about the same amount of time. But
there is ways to skip ahead on the auto scroller, as you say.
Yeah, you can go forward.
Little bits here and there.
There are bits where I let you sort of navigate forward if you're feeling brave.
It's a little risky, but it's not a big deal. Once you hit this checkpoint, it's okay to kind of go for. But yeah, here's the section we were just in. Also, if we have any donations in this section, this is like the perfect section for it.
Those buckets there on the right, those are the ones that he was trying to jump out of for the auto scroller skip. And that's why I say it's really cool how such a big level was made out of such a small piece of geometry.
I am going to try to save a... Oh, that's not...
No.
That's just blocked me a little bit. Oh, wait, maybe we can push it. Ain't having it. Ah!
Well, we do actually, and for one, I'm super thankful, Eterns. I'm loving having this insight from you, and so is Dark Wanderer, who dropped a $20 donation. Who just shout out to Eterns. And yeah, it's a... I didn't realize that you were design lead as we were doing setup and stuff. So this is fascinating. Thank you.
Yeah, what a treat.
No worries. And thanks for the donation, Dark Wanderer. He's gonna be waiting because I've got a Destiny raid after this, so it'll be probably watching and being like, "Hurry up, guys! You're gonna make me late."
Oh no, we'll see if we make this or not. This is one thing I dread about the.
You should have plenty of breath.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, good. We're all set there.
So when do we get a rockfish?
It used to be a lot.
A what fish?
It used to be possible to get stuck right here.
Let's see if I can. Oh, we'll get this one. This one seems safer. It's fine. I can respawn here now. It's not a big deal. All's good. We don't have to do the crazy jumps over and over again. Ooh!
And I know, like if we'd started, you know, because we were right towards the end. We were going to completely reprogram this entire section and these suitcases, because what should happen is, you know, if you hit that lip, you should technically just roll down into it, but just because of the the underlying physics nature of it.
Yeah. Everyone on their casual playthrough thinks it's a backboard, and they just roll off of it, and
Well,
it's
that's the
a
thing,
pain.
like, yeah, we should match that expectation, and ideally that's the way it would work. But again, without going into too much nitty gritty about what we came up against with this level, yeah. But we were very close to pulling the trigger on one of our lead programmer, or our principal programmer on the project. He's one who, like, did all, like, kind of the fish movement and abilities and all those sort of things. He also did Greg, for example, so he knows his kind of like physicsy movement and feel and stuff. And yeah, he was very close to being like, I'm going to reprogram this stuff.
Yeah, it was actually a really crazy thing. One of the earlier builds, these suitcases didn't render all the way. Like, so one of the skips that we did, the suitcases wouldn't appear until we passed a certain point. And the fastest way to beat the level was to just go past that point and hope that a suitcase would just like spawn underneath you. And it was really funny. I remember Kabali actually made it happen, and Kabali is one of the people who found a lot of glitches in this game. Anyways, in this little section with the plane, if we had skipped those checkpoints all the way up to this point and we die here, it's a soft lock on the whole level and we have to skip it. So
yeah, if you reset back to before the auto scroller skip from here, none of the suitcases spawn at all, and it is impossible to get back. Complete soft lock.
Which is not bad design, because we should never be doing this anyways. These skips are ridiculous.
It's just not accounting for it. Yeah, because we completely unload the airport level at this section.
Yeah, you have to purposely go out of your way to make that happen.
Yeah. This bit was fun. I like the idea of the door slowly closing and knowing that, like, you're like, I need to jump, but there's clearly not a good idea to jump now. And yeah, we just leave that little window to get into the ocean.
Really cool design there.
Achievement for hitting the tarmac. That was a fun touch.
That was that's probably, I think I actually beat the level faster in my casual playthrough. But we're on to Piranha. We're done with flying fish for now, so that's good. And now the best music in the game. Piranha. In my opinion.
And this actually level stayed mostly the same. It was one of the first rough prototypes I did. When trying to establish like what each fish's ability was going to be and kind of what the level was going to revolve around. When we were obviously doing the character design for the Piranha, we wanted him to be like this little, like, sort of manic child who just basically destroys and bites and floods everything. That's why a lot of his levels are a little more chaotic.
Yeah, one of the most like amazing things about each of the fish is they have their own movement tech too, that I don't think was necessarily intended, but it was just very nice to have. Piranha is, as you come out of water and you bite, you get like a little bit of a boost. And if you're moving in one direction and you're biting, you also go faster in that straight direction, which is both very cool, and we'll implement that all later, but each of the fish kind of has something like that, except for the goldfish, and I really like that.
Goldfish, the only one with no special abilities.
Whoa. Whoa.
Never seen that.
Whoa. Yeah, that was wonky. I almost didn't get in the jar. That's never happened before.
He set the line.
At least we didn't fall out of the bucket on Goldfish 2. That one is a weird one. I'm just hugging this wall because some of these cars get a little close. That one's kind of far away, so we're good.
These are not the safest drivers.
No. There's a little bit of RNG here, but it's more just so, like, if you have a car that's close by for the setup at the end, it's a pain. I'd say this is the most, like, just skillfully jar driving level in the entire game.
This is the first jar level that I've made. So this level was made to kind of demonstrate what the jar could do and be. And there's only after this level that we made Goldfish 3. So this is why this one has all, like, it's kind of built for the jar, so it plays a little bit better than.
We only have one major skip in this level, so I really like this level a lot. Of course, we get to skip one of the coolest sections of the game too. But we've been skipping that for a while.
Now that you say that, Luke, it makes a lot of sense that this was built first for the jar, because it has a lot of those turns that are just enough to move the jar, but not enough that it's frustrating to be in the jar for them. I see how you really built this area around that.
It's a really well designed level. I love this level.
Yeah, I mean, so originally these little paths didn't have divots in them, and it was a lot more hardcore because any slight mess up on the jar turn, and you'd get sent straight off. But when I added the dip, it just made it a lot more forgiving.
Oh, we have the Seagulls here. These were nerfed.
Yeah,
I remember when they were harder.
Like fundamentally, I mean, originally we weren't even gonna have UI. We just wanted the Seagulls to, they would almost be a visual element. So when they were alerted, they would then circle you, and that was like a sign that they were gonna dive if you continued to move. But again, it's the realities of development when you realize you had to do a lot of iterating on how you communicate it and how a player's gonna know exactly what their behavior is. And so we opted just to be like, look, we ain't got time. We're gonna have to do the UI. And you'll notice it's the only time that there's ever UI on screen, like in the game, apart from maybe like the aquarium level.
Yeah.
And that's purely because you come down to it and you're like, it's almost your fallback. You're like, damn it, we're gonna have to add a UI.
Yep.
And even then, it didn't matter. Like most people didn't understand what it meant. So multiple failures on our behalf there. So
No worries though. All right, here's the one skip in the game and in this level. We're gonna try.
Skip quite a fair amount.
We do. There is a whole nother section where you have to flood a bathroom. It's like a puzzle section. It's really fun, and it does involve a flush. There is a toilet that you have to put toilet paper into and clog it and kind of flush it. One of the cool things that they did with Piranha, I could let Turns talk about it, but everything that's like biteable is like red, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that wasn't necessarily going to be the intention all the way through, because you notice there's little splotches of red in the first area when you're flooding the kitchen, and that was because I wanted to initially kind of hint at it, and then take it away and let the player want to experiment with biting. But ultimately found in playtests that if it wasn't red or some sign of red, players wouldn't think to bite it. It's really hard to get them to train it into this idea of like, hey, you're a piranha, like try biting stuff.
Yep.
Once they the first couple had a bit of red on them, they identified that as biteable objects, and if you drop that kind of logic, then they just.
You can see right here, you have the red flowers near the wood.
And that was late on, right? Because at this point in level 2, I thought, hey, they'll have learned to like just bite things now, so the bark tree will hopefully it's enough for them to just bite it. But no, they were like, it's not red, I can't buy it. And obviously I was like, well, I can't add red trees or branches. But then, yeah, we added some red flowers just to give you a little hint.
Yep. So out of these sections, I'm holding forward and biting to kind of get a boost out of it. And this is what I'm talking about when each of the fish kind of has their own little mechanic that I'm not sure that was intended or not. The piranhas is jumping and biting out of water while going downhill. And also jumping in place, which is very cool. You can hit these vines if they line up well, but I don't always do that. I don't know, you want to talk about some of the skips on this level?
Yeah, so this entire area is kind of sloped downhill, which is why you see him jumping a lot. But because of the lunge, if you lunge just at the edge of the water, just like he just did, you get a lot more height. You're supposed to go through that log by biting some branches and then falling down it. But since we get that extra bit of speed and height from the lunge, from the bite, he can just jump straight over that log, and he's going to be abusing that throughout the entire level just to go a lot faster. These seagulls, they're all optional. There are so many branching paths in this level. I mapped them out once, and there's something like 12 different little paths that you can take. The seagulls take you to different places in them. We are going to get one optional seagull. There's another one that would have been a little bit faster that he missed. It doesn't lose much time for it. There is one seagull that we definitely want to get coming up right about here that saves a lot of time.
I bit twice and it canceled it. That's okay though. We have like clip throughs here and stuff like that. That's kind of fun if I can do it.
So if he did get that, it would have skipped this entire next checkpoint. Just kind of showing how the seagulls can do that. We've mapped out a lot of the seagulls, so we know kind of where the fastest ones are, which ones are redundant, and that kind of thing. It doesn't lose too much time here.
This whole section was built with speedrunning in mind. I like the idea that people would have to, with the amount of options you have, and the fact that the earlier the seagull you grab, the like kind of quicker it is, because they'll drop you to the next section quicker.
That's true sometimes.
So yeah, it was built deliberately with this kind of notion of, you know, it would take people a while to figure out which was the best Seagull route to take.
Yep.
It did take me
It
a
did.
while.
We didn't find it out till recently.
I actually ended up just modding it and taking the Seagull way above land to where the trees stop rendering, so I can build out a map. And then I went through every single Seagull and drew a map of where it went.
Here's a nice little clip.
You can actually get out of bounds right there.
You
too.
can
It
get
just
out of
doesn't
bounds.
leave anything interesting.
We love that spot though. We're gonna do. This is a puzzle room. We're supposed to get the water level just right, but we don't want to spend a ton of time on the puzzle, so what we're gonna try to do is just get through the puzzle as the water fills up. Is gonna be the goal. I don't know if I explained that very well.
So what he's doing is we need the water to go up here, and if he looks up at any point, you'll be able to see the pipe that we're trying to get into in the end. So there's a number of valves. It's right up there. So there's a number of valves that we're gonna you turn on and off to raise and lower the water levels. The whole idea.
Got stuck.
I don't know if we've explained trash.
No,
but
we
if you
never
stay
did
in
because
trash-
I got
Yeah,
hit
if
by
you
it.
stay in trash for long enough, you suffocate. Unless you bump into something and then you can knock it off. Not usually a big deal for us because we see the trash, we hit something right away. Casual players probably don't know that you can bump it off because
Yeah,
I didn't even know that for quite a while.
It's a hidden mechanic that you can knock off the trash. Originally, it took 3 hits, and I was like, the players aren't ever going to.
They're not going to figure it out.
Yeah. Because they'll hit it once, maybe twice, and then go, "Oh, it doesn't work." So when I changed it to 1, there's still now the chance that you will discover it and go, "Oh, I don't, you know, I'm not. It's not a death sentence to me to get stuck in trash."
Now, as for the skip, he's gonna open another valve, and the idea is that you open and close a couple of other valves in order to get the water level just right. But because we can move fast, he's going to do this, and then he's going to swim directly to the exit and try to jump in before the water level cuts him off.
And I failed this the other day, so fingers crossed.
If you fail it. If you fail
no,
it,
we're waiting.
you can lower the water level and try again.
I had such a lead on that.
You got it.
Hey, here comes probably the biggest car RNG because it's later in the game. They lowered how the rate of the cars here, but if I get hit by a car coming out of this pipe,
I'd like to say real quick because he's coming out of this pipe is that he's swimming upward
to the left a little
forward right now in the pipe just to get this huge boost as he comes out of it.
I was also going a little bit to the left because if you go straight, you kind of like land. If you go a little bit to the left, you can land straight in that puddle, and it's amazing.
I have never seen that before.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one who does that currently, but I have landed directly in the puddle from it. But if you go too far left, then you really mess it up. So I was being safe.
Like he was saying, this is the biggest section of car RNG because we're jumping from pothole to pothole. This town really needs to fix up their streets.
Yeah.
And very easy to get hit by a car in between. And there was an earlier patch when the cars were far more aggressive than they are now.
Yeah, I turned them down. But also there's like a little bit of logic to where these potholes are, because on the other side of the motorway where you're going to is the petrol station that blows up at the end of Iron Bread.
Yep.
There are NPCs who mention it on the very first level about this gas station blowing up, and that's the one.
Yep. I am an Iron Bread runner. I love Iron Bread.
So the reason the kind of potholes are there is almost that, like, you know, the petrol station blew up, so there's like road damage that they haven't got around to repairing it, because at least in a story timeline wise, Iron Fish, it starts before Iron Bread, because you'll notice in the cutscene at the start, it's Bob picking up the bread that he eventually takes home, that causes his life to go awry, and then this is just like kind of probably a few days after the events of Iron Bread.
Yep. So I'm gonna try to do a cutscene skip here. Ooh, didn't quite get it.
Didn't get the cutscene skip. You have to jump perfectly with a perfect chomp jump there to get the cutscene skip. But Greg has gotten hit by a car because of RX. It's just another piece of bad luck he had.
Yeah,
not because of potholes.
You mentioned during my run in the chat that there was an alternate way you guys were going to handle this level. If you want to talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, so that's going to be one of our biggest set pieces in the game, which was going to be, you'll notice that we have you turning valves throughout the whole level, and that's because we're training you to control a steering wheel, because there was a set piece that was supposed to happen that's going to end up, Greg's car was going to get flooded by a water tanker that you were basically stuck inside, and you were going to burst through his front car window, fill his car with water, and then you were going to drive the car down a little motorway sequence where Greg's knocked out, so he's unconscious and his arms are kind of flailing around in the water, and then you're basically having to steer the car and dodge traffic. And if you hit too many cars, all the windows in the car shatter and then the water drains out and you die. And then that was eventually going to be, when you got to the end of the motorway section, was going to be that car crash scene that we skipped to at the end there. But yes.
And it makes sense still with the Piranha being there. The Piranha would still be there, so interesting.
Exactly, yeah.
How are you planning on getting into the water tanker?
A car was going to come by and they were going to fling you into the water tanker.
Similar to Puffer 3, kind of, I guess. Where you get kicked in.
Yeah, and then you were basically going to be inside the water tank, and if you went to the back of it, there was another valve, and you could turn that, and you could basically spring it open, and then it just so happens that poor Greg is driving behind this tanker unknowingly, and he gets blasted in the face by a fish and some water.
Here we got Surgeon Simulator desk, cameo, and there'll be another one coming up.
Tiny bit of invisible geometry right here on the desk that blocks us every time.
Until it goes dun 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 dun.
And that's just there just because I was like, you know what? I spent a long time replicating this goddamn desk. And you're gonna sit there and you're gonna look at it.
Awesome. And we have to look at it. I'm respawning so we get this ice moves a lot better when you're on the flat surface, the wider surface, just because of the Piranha can move around a lot more freely. I love that this is Nigel. I love that they give him a cast, because now you understand why you play. I'm guessing this is why you play Surgeon Simulator with one arm. Is that why?
Pretty much. Well, it was the only time, so there was a lot of stuff we alluded to in the storyline of Surgeon 1 and kind of Bread as to who is Nigel? Is he really actually a proper surgeon? So I don't know if it comes through here, but obviously you're in an in construction wing of Barnshire Hospital. So you start where there is actually people around, but this area is not built yet. So Nigel has kind of taken it over without anyone realizing, and he basically works in this under construction wing of the hospital doing his surgery on Bob. And we have to canonize a few things now, which is okay, well, why do you have to use his left hand? It's well, he's in a cast. Is he kind of is he kind of crazy? And it's
yes, he is.
And so
before making I Am Fish, or is that decisions that you made?
This is Nigel Skip, by the way.
Don't run. Oh yeah, Nigel Skip 1 earlier, and this is Nigel Skip 2. He's supposed to chase you around. You're supposed to hide from him, and we skip him entirely. In this case, just by going directly in front of him.
Sometimes you can go right into his legs, and it doesn't matter, and it's funny as heck.
the AI could have done with a little bit more time, but essentially the pitch for this section was basically just alien isolation, but in a hospital. And you're going to get chased by the crazy surgeon from Surgeon Simulator.
I remember how this is actually such a difficult section, my first casual playthrough of the game. Trying to figure out where to go and hiding from him while I was trying to figure out where to go. It was wonderful.
I must say
it was made to be confusing and sort of a little bit panicky. I like the shifts in tone where suddenly you're wait, is this a horror game now?
I mean, I gotta say this level's gone swimmingly so far. As we haven't had bad prop RNG, and we just have the blood room really left. So hopefully we don't get the upside down ice cube mishap.
Swimmingly?
Yeah.
Is there a way for the ice cube to land upside down?
Yes, it's happened to me twice.
I've never seen that.
It's happened to Marshino once, I think, as well. So.
Oh wow.
All right, I think we're good. It has to break, and then it goes upside down somehow.
It flips over.
Yeah.
This is the hardest jump in the game right here.
This is actually. This is the worst.
It's one of those things where all the assets come in, and I'm like.
All right, cool.
It's not quite deep enough.
Yeah, we don't care if we fall out. We just have to fall out, and we get the checkpoint.
Yeah.
All right.
And the assets come in late, and you're like, but I've already designed the level for this particular thing, and it's. Yeah.
Now coming up is another use of the using the chomp jump for skip. There's a lot of blood bags that could be hit inside these cabinets. By the way, why is there so much blood in these cabinets?
I don't know.
Why?
I mean, at this point, I think players are on board with how this is sort of a little bit of a weird area, in terms of the general population of Barnardshire. It's not quite a normal county, so yeah, I just thought at this point they're probably not going to be too sort of questioning as to why there's just,
No,
like,
I stopped
loads
questioning
of blood
things
bags.
after the suitcases.
You know,
Yeah.
it begs the question: when you're going from Flying Fish 2 to Flying Fish 3, there's seemingly an elevator from this abandoned area that's next to this mine shaft that goes directly to an elevator. And
Yeah,
it's
I
a
mean,
really big question of why does that elevator go to
An airport.
an airport? And I think I asked Daz about this once, and he said the canonical
go.
answer is just that the people are just kind of weird and just didn't notice or think anything of it.
well, I mean, one of the things I really wanted to do in this game was like tie all the universe together. That's why I had to canonize stuff like with Nigel, the surgeon from Surgeon Simulator. And you revisit locations from I Am Bread, and in this case, like Surgeon Simulator 2. Now, if you play through Surgeon Simulator 2, this takes place like decades before any of these games. It kind of like delves into the origins of Bob and this Bossa Labs, where they're kind of
Just
experimenting
casual
with
vat of blood.
creating and teaching people surgery. So this is all kind of like this manufactured blood that they kind of built so people could.
Is that why they have a tank of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
But
cannon
again,
expand.
it's so this Bossa Labs was kind of built underneath Barnardshire to basically train all these people.
Oh, poor Greg.
And there's Greg after the car crash. This whole pitch here was just like imagine you're The Shining, but you're on the elevator.
Yeah, I did think of The Shining with this. By the way, this level went really well. Nothing majorly terrible. However, I'm not really usually when I'm running the game, I'm not usually scared of this level unless I get like stuck on prop RNG on that one section.
One of the funniest things from just hacking around the game, doing glitch hunting, trying to find new skips, is that I figured out that outside of that building, before you initiate that cutscene, that blood is just kind of sitting outside of the window.
Oh yeah, it's just.
Remember when we saw that?
Yeah, it's just going outside the window. It's just like it's so funny.
There's just blood going out the window the entire time. If you can manage to see it from the outside, it is absolutely horrifying.
That was a gold split on that, by the way. So I'll have to check.
Nice.
I'll have to check that later to see if that
was a really good level. That was a really good level.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing it up. Hey, we got my old favorite fish, but I still love it.
Now here's one of the levels where we have spent so long grinding this level to shave seconds off of the level. See how he's puffing right now? That gives just a little bit of extra speed.
No, we're not gonna get it. We're not getting it.
He's not gonna get the first skip. But if you hit this part just at the right speed, and I mean exactly the right speed, so you don't break beforehand, you'll break right here, and then you can make it to the checkpoint by rolling.
And then respawn. Which we do a lot as pufferfish. Pufferfish is, as far as like checkpoint skips go, which we've been utilizing throughout this run. We didn't really mention it. Pufferfish is the most guilty party
especially in Puffer 3. We're gonna see that so much in Puffer 3.
Oh yeah.
But the only way to save time in this level, there's a lot of swimming in this level. The only way to save time, and we have grinded this level so much trying to save just seconds, is bouncing in just the right ways off of just the right things to get a little bit further. Save 1 second here, 2 seconds there.
Yeah, and you will restart if you're ever running this IO wise. You will restart on this gate a lot, depending on where the fish is, where it hits this. You can get a really nice roll like that, or you can get a really slow.
That was a nice fling.
That was very nice.
Fling you forward.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
So you can get it like that, or you can get stuck on the gate and then have to roll down very slowly, and that's an instant restart if you're trying to like get world record on this level for sure.
There's a couple seconds you can save just in these little water areas by following the water current properly. Eterns, would you like to talk for a second about how the water physics work? Because I've noticed a lot in these areas that the water pushes you in a certain direction, and if you follow that direction, you'll go slightly faster than if you follow a different direction.
Yeah, all the bodies of water in the game, especially when we're doing rivers, they have a flow map, and that's what's defining all of like the texture and the direction that the caustics and all that move in, and also exerts force on the fish as well. So yeah, it was quite a while to set up because you basically have to define all of the paths of the river, and then you build little splines, and then you sort of define what the flow strength is throughout them. And this was like the level where we probably built the from, because it was quite an early level anyway. It was one of the beta levels as well. And it was the first level where we sort of, it was me experimenting with like what is fun and what is a challenge when you're a pufferfish. So we were like, okay, like going downhill, like sort of bouncing
I was trying to go for a little
was...
save there. Didn't work out.
And yeah, and because it was a fast-flowing river as well, it kind of, we knew that like, hey, we can use this to kind of build up our water system.
Fantastic
a good test
water
case
system.
for it.
I think you guys did a really good job on that, and I love how beautiful it looks too.
I think Puffer
But,
overall is like when people. I'm pretty sure maybe it was during playtesting. I can't remember the feedback, but I think the general consensus was everyone really liked the pufferfish level. It's just, I don't know. It's just very enjoyable and relaxing compared to some of the other levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's
we definitely tried to give each fish like a different vibe, and I think pufferfish definitely was like the, hey, we're gonna like be going through kind of like nature, and it's gonna be a little bit more chill. And the rolling's just like a fun, easy mechanic.
Oh, it's so enjoyable. And the sound is so enjoyable too.
Am I the only runner that goes left here instead of right?
Probably.
I tested it, and I know that it's faster.
Well,
it's 1 second faster in my testing to go the left path here instead of the right path, because you can go directly from the water out of the water. You don't have to take that second to pause.
Well, I learned something new today.
Nobody else has done it.
I learned something new. Well, I'll be completely honest. Puffer 1 is the level that up until we started doing, like, everyone started trying to beat the IL on it. It was the only level I never, ever, ever practiced. Because it was always like, oh, I'm going to get, like, between 3.5 and 4.5 minutes or something. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Everything else was a bigger worry for me.
So I want to take a second here and talk about the mega jumps that he's doing.
Oh yeah, the big puff jumps.
You don't usually see them until later, but when pufferfish is low in the water and you puff, pufferfish will fly up. And that's a mechanic that's going to be used a little bit later. Normally,
I could do one here, but it'll skip the checkpoint. You could save a second there, or a second or two, but you skip that checkpoint if you do it.
High risk of skipping that checkpoint, yeah.
And we can't do that.
He's doing them here in much shallower water than you're supposed to be doing them, because what happens is if you deflate the pufferfish just as he's exiting the water, you get a huge boost of height, and if you're moving forward, you get a huge boost of speed. So we call these casual mega jumps, where he's just doing this to get that extra speed. It saves quite a bit of time over the course of the first half of this level.
Yeah, I call them big puff jumps just to annoy RNL.
Yeah.
But I believe she discovered them, so... I
wasn't the one that originally... Oh, these
Kabali?
thorns. These thorns will slow you down.
Yeah,
I think Kabali discovered them the first time, but as soon as he discovered them, I started finding skips with them, especially the one in Finale.
I think I started doing these casual ones first, and I realized that they were faster.
Yeah, that's true. You were the first one to bring the casual
And the reason I
jumps in.
started doing them was just to practice, because there's some skips later that are really important for it. But here, you just like, you get practice out of it early. Yeah, even if you fail it a little bit, like, it's just.
But it saves so much time to do these casual mega jumps.
And part of the reason is Puffer has the worst jump in the game, regular jump. I think
he does. He's the slowest. He's the slowest fish. You see that a lot at the very end in Finale, when you have to jump all of the fish out. It's really clear how bad his jump is.
I mean, so setting-wise, the pufferfish is identical to Piranha.
Is it? Does it have to do with its size?
Piranha has the bite jump.
Yep.
Which kind of covers it a little bit. And flying fish actually does have a slightly higher modifier for leaving the water. They all get a boost when they leave the water.
Oh yeah, that's why you see in the flying fish levels, you see us just jumping out of the water a lot, because that boost that you get is pretty significant.
More movement tech for each of the fish, which is really cool. This next section, the big puff jumps are important. We actually get to skip a little indicator.
This is where they're normally introduced.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you guys are doing is the deflate as you leave the water, which is what's giving you more height than I've balanced for, which lets you do those skips later on.
Yeah, we don't have to go as deep.
You're supposed to stay inflated, and that's kind of how that's supposed to work. I don't require the player to deflate before they leave the water.
Yeah,
deflating just gets you a lot of extra height,
which means we don't have to swim as far down as well.
Yeah, and that would just be because his it'll be all the physics things of like when he's inflated, he's just a different scale, he's a different size.
We're fine with going over here.
Just a side effect of it being a physics game.
Yeah. So when you go back to your small size, you're like
You're smaller and the
you're
buoyancy
more
affects you
streamlined
differently.
and yeah.
Oopsies. Okay, we made it. That
You're
was kind
gonna
of
be
close.
close to dying when you hit the water, but you made it.
Yeah, we'll be good. We'll be good. This is a very scary situation. You can see the screen kind of gets dark when you're about to.
That's the intended way for it to happen, though. You're supposed to almost die
Yeah,
there, I
it's
believe.
supposed to feel tense. And
This-
that entire thing we stole from Subnautica. There was if you notice in Subnautica, when you suffocate, there's a few seconds where your screen is black, and then you recover, and it's for those moments that in their GDC talk they said that it was a bug. Their timings weren't quite lined up, but they noticed that the experience was it gave it that like I'm dead, and then the elation of when the screen comes back from
Oh,
black.
well.
It works very well. Yeah.
It works
So
so
here-
well, especially in this
here
game.
It's deliberate, and it's learned from Subnautica, who left it in when they realized how good it felt, but it was originally a bug in their game.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I like that. I'm learning so much today.
It's not the first time a major game mechanic has been discovered through a bug. I mean, rocket jumps are exactly how rocket jumps in Quake are exactly how rocket jumps became a thing. They didn't intend for it to be that way, but it works so well they
This
left
is the
it
last
here.
scary.
Poot's coming up to the last scary thing in the game. He is skipping that entire building you can see off to the right by going out of bounds in the little section that he turns here forgot to plug up. So
I
there's
didn't
some
do
really
the
weird.
art. This is on the artists. They didn't plug the gap. I'll have you know.
Okay.
So not Luke's fault. Not Luke's fault. But
This part has very weird geometry though, so it's not easy.
yeah, since it's out of bounds, there's very weird geometry, and he's trying to avoid getting hit by the birds here because
Yeah.
they can knock you off.
That's why I'm slowing
and
down a
ruin
little
your
bit.
day. You lose about a minute and a half if you get knocked off here.
Yeah, it's another
And-
part where the run resets, but it's not as bad as like the flying fish one, as you all saw. We have no checkpoints for the rest of the level.
He's pulled it off. He's successfully out of bounds. Now there's a few ways you can get back inbounds. Are you going for the traditional one?
Yeah, we're going traditional. The other one's too risky, and it doesn't
So
save much time.
He's going to be coming back inbounds immediately after this giant house that you would be in, where you go through some really large tanks of water, and you get back in the fishbowl, and you go through this big house, and you exit right here. It is actually possible to stay in the jar longer, and come back inbounds at a different point, but
Called
it is
far jar.
very risky.
It's called far jar,
Because-
not fart jar, far jar.
Far jar, but it's really risky because if you don't break the jar and you end up back in the water, you're just in the jar in the water and you're stuck.
Yep.
Which
And
happened
you
to me a lot
deserved
when
it
I was
as well.
testing that, and I actually gave up on it until Marcino found a way to break it later on. But he's the only one that does it so far.
I do it if I'm trying ILs, but fact of the matter is you
Yeah,
can still
fact,
beat the
good
IL
enough.
world record without yeah, we're probably safe after this jump. Okay. Yeah, we're good.
You'll notice that there's no checkpoints. Because like we said earlier, and just like in Flying Fish, once you skip a checkpoint, there's no more checkpoints. So by going out of bounds, skipping the checkpoints, he now has to do the rest without checkpoints. But luckily, once he gets to this point, it's just swimming from
Yeah.
here.
And if we have any more donations or host comments or anything like that,
Anything Luke wants to touch on?
oh, I think the
We've
host
got
host dipped
2
out
minutes of
actually.
swimming.
Oh, I was only going to mention the whole checkpoint thing. They were originally always present in a level, so skipping you could essentially just, if you hit a checkpoint, that was it. You could start from there. And it was actually quite a late addition that we then had them require the checkpoint previous to unlock the next one, which is what is
I don't
then
know
causing.
how it would have worked with all the checkpoints available because there's so many branching paths.
So that was one of the reasons why we had to do it.
Yeah, we would have completely broken the game if we had all
Because-
of them
I mean,
available.
there's a section in there's a section in Pufferfish 3 where you can see 2 checkpoints very close to each other.
Mhm.
You can
Yeah.
see the paths.
And so when we had it, especially when these levels kind of like they would circle on each other, and they're quite small spaces sometimes, but obviously the route through
The
them
nightclub
quite
is a really
elaborate.
small space.
Exactly. So when all the checkpoints were there on the nightclub level, you were just like, which way do I go? There's like, I can see like 12 checkpoints from up here, and so that's why we knew we needed to
Here comes one of the most fun skips
disable them.
and mistakes.
Oh yeah, here we go. Instead of doing this whole mini game where he gets caught by the fisherman, there is a exit level trigger that's just left right here. Just a little tiny collider that if you hit, you just end the
Yeah.
level.
You scumbags.
From what I heard, that was left in there on accident, but we do appreciate that because it lets us end the level so early.
It was. It's because at one point, when he captured you, people like he kept missing the bucket to finish the level, and we thought it must be the placement for the bucket. So I moved the bucket to where you just skipped it, and then we did a few more changes to make it guaranteed that he would put you in the bucket, and so then I could move the bucket back to where it was. But clearly, I think.
But then you added a second exit collider, because there are 2 exit colliders.
Yeah, there are
in
2.
the level. The one in the bucket, because you can jump directly into the bucket, that exit collider doesn't exist in the bucket until after the fisherman catches you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it should work, and I'm guessing that bucket.
That other one just never got removed.
I don't know how this is going to work here, but we'll see if this goes or not.
That's one of 2 levels in the game that has more than one exit level trigger. The other one is actually Flying Fish 2. There's 2 exit level triggers in Flying Fish 2. I don't know if you're aware.
Huh.
If you fly, yeah, if you fly in the very beginning area, you know.
Oh, yeah, you showed me that one.
E-turns, you know the pipe that you're supposed to go into that takes you to the caverns, and the little section there that stops you from flying, the no-fly zone trigger.
Yes.
It's possible to fly under the no-fly zone trigger. It's very difficult, but it is possible to fly under the no-fly zone trigger to get to the other end of that area. And if you jump out and you jump to the left, just way out of bounds, to the left, away from the level, and you fly for about 3 solid minutes,
2 buckets.
there is just an exit level trigger just in the void, about 3 minutes away of flying away from the level, for no reason that anybody can figure out.
No idea then.
I could show it to you sometime. I could show it to you sometime because I make it light up with a big white box. Otherwise, it's invisible.
So this level really,
we would never find it.
This level really abuses the checkpoint system. If you couldn't tell, I'm just jumping out as the puffer fish. It's really safe. This is one of the reasons we like to do puffer last. Is like almost all the levels except for the puffer 2 out of bounds skip are just very forgiving. Like if you lose time, it's just going to be seconds compared to minutes. And we're gonna
There's actually a lot of spaces in this level where you can save time by jumping out of the bucket and roll into the next checkpoint. It's just so hard to jump out of the bucket with pufferfish.
Yep.
Because his jump is so weak.
We got another fun container here, or what do we call it? Vehicle.
Yeah, at least you can't skip this one.
No.
Believe me, we have tried.
You have to do one of the sets.
We do have something I'm gonna try, called Greg Boosts. And another skip called Greg Poops was found out of this, which is very fun. I don't know if I'll get any Greg Boosts. They're kind of risky.
I would love to hear from Eterns about how you guys made Greg the Greg vehicle.
I mean, fundamentally, he's a bucket. So he functions exactly like the bucket does.
Except that he's also a ragdoll, a partial ragdoll.
Yeah, so that's all visual though. So that's So yeah, fundamentally you're just a very tall bucket, and then we have his flailing limbs.
Now,
kind of just...
is his movement bucket? Because I don't think the Greg boosts work on a bucket. You know what I mean? Like the container that it's inside.
Weird things happen when you inflate pufferfish inside of Greg.
Yeah, that's because his container, his stomach container, is way smaller than it is in the bucket.
Makes sense.
Oh.
Now
so you're pushing up against like every edge of the kind of
I couldn't get any Greg boosts off, sadly, but we can still try for Greg poops in the bathroom.
That makes sense. It's just he's the same as every other container. The space inside is just very small, so when you puff, you're hitting all sections of it at the same time. Is that right?
Yeah.
You just solved a big mystery for me. I've been trying to figure that out for a long time.
And then when it comes down to it, when you add these new mechanics and stuff, you have to kind of, if you want to do it, it's like what have we already built that we can reuse? And the bucket is just a good solid foundation for a lot of different vehicles. Like if you didn't do the skip in Puffer 2, the bins are just giant buckets.
Oh, I see. Gaffy's back. So just in a moment, Gaffy, if you have any more donations, we can get those. I'm gonna try for Greg. Yeah, we're gonna go for Greg Poops here. Come on.
And here's example of what happens when you puff up inside of Greg.
Yeah, so that was a Greg boost there, but we couldn't get Greg Poops, so we're gonna go over to the let's go over to this toilet.
You have to explain to me what Greg Poops is.
We basically Puffer clips out of
directly out of him.
Yeah. And then that way, and it's faster because we can roll into this toilet rather than having to go through the vomit animation.
Yeah.
There's no collision on the toilet, so you can go directly into the pipe.
So it's really swag strats, to be honest, but it does save time if you get it perfectly. But I've only done it twice.
It's so hard though.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has pulled it off yet. It does seem.
That does sound really interesting.
Yeah. If you
It's so
have any donations
unpredictable.
or comments, Gaff, feel free. This is a
We do, and thank you for giving me that moment. I've been enjoying the run, but
Awesome.
we did get $10 from Mama Ika, so she loves the animals too. And again, everything is really appreciated. We are hitting our incentives right now, and we did actually get a special announcement from CJ. And as many people know, this is the team behind the YouTube channel for Speed Docs. And if we hit $1,500, which is $249 away, then it is official. They will make the Tony Hawk Underground 2 World Record History video. A little
Oh,
bonus
that's
incentive
exciting.
for
Let's
everybody.
Get those donations.
Get those donations in.
This is the last level, by the way. This is finale.
Yes.
Yeah, so at this point, you've because ultimately you're reuniting all the fish. Obviously, Poot is skipping all the cutscenes, but ultimately, when they all get back to the ocean, they've all met up. They're all super happy. But then a fishing trawler comes in and captures you all, and that's why when I was speaking earlier about not wanting you to get captured and set back too many times, this was like the second time that I allowed it, because I was like, hey, you get caught by some kids when you're the pufferfish, the goldfish.
Mhm.
Straight initially, and I was like, I think I've allowed myself one more time that you kind of get set back. Oh, not again, sort of thing.
Mhm.
I think that was a great decision because this is one of the most beautiful levels. The way the fish work together is just so much fun. I wish we had more levels where we got to play as more than one fish.
This is
because-
why
Yeah,
I want.
so-
This is why I want
Well-
DLC with multiple fish.
So what you're coming up to with the pufferfish in there was the very first like kind of co-op puzzle that I did. And then I realized that it was a really good mechanic, and then I was like annoyed because I was like, damn it, we've got like the best mechanic in the game, and it's for one level, and it's the last level.
Yes. What a tragedy. Because I was like, whoa. I remember playing this the first time. I was like, oh my god, this level has
Oh yeah.
so much potential. So much. Now, you're probably not gonna like what we do to some of these puzzles, but
Yeah.
it's
Playing
still.
it casually, when I saw that you could play as more than one fish, and I saw how it works together, it was amazing. It just blew my mind the first time I saw this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it was a hypothetical throughout the whole project, and I knew that we wanted the final level just, because I always like games that, they don't reveal all the mechanics straight away, and, there's always new stuff, and new mechanics and new things to play with throughout the game. And so I wasn't that broken up about the fact that we had an awesome mechanic as a final level, because I see it as, it's a really cool reward, and it's, and it was really fun to actually design this level.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. It is a really cool reward when you get here and you realize that you have this new mechanic. It's so much fun.
And you gotta decide, like, oh, which fish am I gonna use for this section? Even for the speedrun component, like, we do stuff that's not how it's intended, but it was still like, this fish is really good for this section. And we do abuse checkpoints quite a bit in this, but
Oh yeah, it's called. We like to joke around about this. This level is called "Leave No Fish Behind," but we leave fish behind literally every chance we get. In fact, we no longer have any need for the goldfish, and you'll never see him again.
It was
He's
the
gonna
hardest.
he's gonna leave Piranha right here and just move on without him, and the checkpoints respawn them.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the puzzles here, especially when you get to the flying fish can kind of, while I can preoccupy the piranha needing to bite or the puffer needing to like inflate to hold something up, I knew that as soon as we had the flying fish, there was nothing that the goldfish had, like because the only time I could like kind of have puzzles that needed you to kind of get all three fish together was because I could sort of occupy the other two fish while the piranha had to be the one, the fish had to be the one to go ahead. And so yeah, this level was an endless headache for just how do I kind of keep the fish restrained, and how do I have you required to kind of use all the fish.
Now that's really difficult in Iron Fish mode when you have to use all the fish, but coming up here we have a really big skip called Puzzle Skip, incidentally, where we're going to skip
Oops.
the entire... Oh, no! We're going to skip the entire puzzle,
Overshot it
that
a
was
little bit.
intended. And this is, as soon as we found out about Mega Jumps...
This is the first place we looked.
This is the first place, yeah. And we first had a skip where instead of doing the puzzle with goldfish, we did the puzzle with pufferfish. And then I worked on finding a way to skip the entire thing by using the mega jumps entirely. So there's 2 different ways to skip this. One where you use pufferfish instead of goldfish, and one where you just skip everything outright. And Poot's gonna go for the strategy where you skip everything outright.
For sure. I've already sent it enough, you know. We just gotta go.
So I'm so sorry about your puzzle.
Yeah, this
It's right. It was a tough kind of puzzle to piece together. It's probably like
It's a fun puzzle.
it's the main puzzle of this
But it
entire
just
level,
takes
to be
too long
honest.
for our case.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We're speedrunners, so we have to skip it.
You're in one room for too long for your liking.
I love this though. Everything is set up perfectly for this to work.
Honestly, it's just such a really fun skip to do too.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you're having fun, I guess.
That's the point of the game.
Times that because I was going to plug that hole because I thought, oh, sometimes players will think that they need to be the flying fish somehow, or they need to jump out of it. But I just thought, nah, it's probably fine, so I left it. And turns out, yeah, so now you get to abuse it.
And this is the best use of the mega jumps here. You do have to align it just right so you don't hit this pipe, but if you use a mega jump in just the right spot,
We got it.
you can go directly to flying fish.
All right, first try, not bad. On the second part. And then we
So
say hi to
this-
flying fish and we keep going.
Yeah. So I always knew that you could eventually get ahead, get a checkpoint, just respawn to move all the fish forward. But you know, I mean, there is the actual logic of that section, isn't it? You have to go and retrieve
Yep.
Piranha and Puffer, who are still in the main room. So there's moments where I kind of hard block you unless you're doing the mega jump.
Right. The flying fish, though, even if you do the puzzle normally, you can just jump over after you reach the flying fish. The flying fish is intended to reunite the other fish. That's like flying fish's whole gig there. But
Yeah.
you can, even if you're doing it the puzzle the regular way, I found out that pretty early you could just jump over as, I think, either the goldfish or whoever I was then.
Yeah, yeah.
Just keep
I
going.
mean,
And respawn.
there's a couple of things like that where, especially when you're later on, I mean, these levels are just, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done the Out of Bounds on this one, Aaron, but you'll know that this level's a pretty snug fit, right? Where they're all sort of interlinked together.
It's a surprisingly small amount of space for just how much you see.
Now we do get to use the flying fish here. Flying fish here
Didn't
gets
leave a
its
huge amount of room.
stardom. We'll
Two
see.
major skips coming up here. Because we hate escalators, escalator skip 1 and escalator 2, we're going to see them back to back, so I just want to explain them real quick.
Sure.
This is another one of those tiny hitboxes for the checkpoint where you have to hit the bucket directly. But he is going to position this just where the next checkpoint is going to be, so that when he hits the next checkpoint, a checkpoint appears right above where Flying Fish is. Flying Fish will grab the checkpoint, and the checkpoint afterwards will appear. And that's how he's going to skip the first escalator. The second escalator, he's going to skip through sheer flying skills alone.
Yep. I guess got stuck on the grate, and I don't think that's ever happened to me either.
I always go around the grate. You always get stuck on the grate if you try to hit it. That's why I
There we
always go
go.
around.
And all of a sudden, first escalator gone.
And then escalator skip 2 is just a matter of flying skills. It's actually possible to jump directly to the checkpoint from here. It is ludicrously hard. I don't think anybody's ever pulled it off in a run. But
Kabali's done it in an IL, but it's not
an older IL.
Yeah, older IL, and it's not world record. But you can jump from that water to over the escalator straight to this checkpoint.
Doing it in 2 jumps though is still really fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't save you that much time, and you're at the end of the run. And why hurt yourself at that point after over an hour?
I guess just for context, all these convoluted skips is, usually it's to get around a load of mechanics where, you have to use a Piranha to turn on the escalators and all these other things that I spent ages trying to set up. So you had to bring the other fish with you, because ultimately I didn't want a situation where you could just complete the level with 1 fish, right? So there's all these kind of gates and other things happening.
Yep.
This is the one time that I kind of broke my rule for having soft lock, where
you need all of these
here
fish.
I was like, we're just gonna have a hard thing where it's that gate will not open until all fish are there. And it's the one time I broke my own rules, because I was like, there was no feasible way that I could get you to need all 4 fish at this stage in the one container. And I needed it just to set up the finale, right? So
This is the part where we cannot leave any fish behind, where the title applies.
Yeah. So in the end, they succeeded. We have to have all of them together.
The gate just yells at you.
Because I imagine if you could have skipped this thing, you would have. But thankfully, the gate and the door prevent you.
We would have skipped this even earlier because I think there's a way to get straight into this with flying fish, but I wouldn't.
But
No, to
Okay.
open these doors up ahead, you actually need to be in some sort of vehicle. It doesn't matter what kind. You can be in this one, you can be in a fishbowl, but those doors will only open if there's some sort of vehicle that you're in. Just like the final cutscene, only plays if you're in some sort of vehicle.
Yeah, it's got a vehicle tag on the collider. And this is just a giant bucket, so you could be in the bucket and it would open for you.
I've done that before.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
It makes less sense, obviously, that the doors would get smashed
makes a
down
lot
by a
less
small
sense.
bucket.
I mean, this Piranha's able to open up giant studded metal vats of blood, so
that's the last
Yeah.
input of the game, by the way.
yes,
The
but
run's not over yet, but the rest is all cutscene.
yeah, it's we unlike a lot of runs where it's last input or whatever, you'd think we'd end it here. Because there's technically a way to end the run earlier, we haven't been able to do it yet, but because you could technically, there's a different trigger, we decided to make the end at the very actual end of the level.
Yeah, the ending trigger for this level is actually at the end of this giant cutscene. If you were to go out here without this cutscene playing, it would take about 10 minutes to get all the way to the end, but you can technically end the level that way.
Yeah, it's a massive, like, section.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's a total waste of time to even try to...
City.
I've gotten outside of this area without using like any hacks or anything like that, but not to this point. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much I Am Fish. We're gonna be coming up on time in a little bit. Gaffy, if we have any more donations now, before we, or actually,
Time's coming up.
A time is coming up now. Time. There we go. My bad. Thank you,
All
everybody.
good and GG. Yeah, that
GG's,
was
GG's.
awesome.
And we should be able to do the incentive before the 140 time as well.
Are we doing Space Station?
Yep.
We have hit it.
We'll be doing Space Station, and we'll still have time to spare. So I'll thank RNL and it turns now. Y'all can stay in for the Space Station, so we could talk about that a little bit. But that is I Am Fish. I do have to go to my main account though.
Good run.
Yeah.
Do we have final
Actually,
time?
I haven't seen this yet, so I'm kind of excited.
It was 1:31:24. I was splitting on the side just to make sure on the flying fish level, if I failed it enough, that I wouldn't go over. Yeah.
That's a really good time for a marathon. That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, really, all the times were solid except for flying fish, really. And there was a gold split in there. I'll have to check that time back and see if there was if it was world
Now,
record.
Space Station goes really fast, so Eterns, if there's anything you want to talk about Space Station, I'd get started now, because this entire level is only about 2.5 minutes long.
I'm a little slower,
yeah.
so.
So, obviously, you can probably tell this came after we built the aquarium, because we were like, we have to use this mechanic again. So, we always knew we wanted a space level, because I Am Bread and Surgery Simulator, they both have space levels. So we sort of see it as our, like, tradition.
Fastbite.
So, yeah, we wanted a space level in this. And we liked the idea of, I think it was one of the programmers on the project, just very early on said, oh, like, imagine, like, in zero gravity and you're swimming between, like, globules of water in zero G. And so that was kind of, that's when we knew we had to do this level. Because it was such a cool kind of concept of, you know, the fish kind of swimming from one sort of anti-gravity water block to another.
I love this goldfish container.
Yeah, and then when we built the aquarium, we were like, and that mechanic of switching fish, we were like, okay, we have to do that again. Now here, I didn't know that the goldfish could move this switch. That's supposed to, it's red because the piranha's supposed to be the only one who can operate it, but clearly not.
I actually didn't know that, but it makes sense.
It requires you to flood the rest of the room so you can get the piranha over there.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of
But, yeah.
skips here.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to see what it looks like doing it without all these crazy skips, there are some people who have run this in Iron Fish mode where there's no checkpoints and you have to bring all the fish with you. Very fun to watch, much more difficult
Yeah, yeah.
to do quickly.
And obviously, what you'll notice that what we learned from the aquarium level is the reason that the fish is in this little box container is it actually gives him a unique ability in this level, because he's the only one who can basically go out into space and stuff.
Ah, it does make sense. So if you hold
Goldfish is
forward
time
here,
to
you just
shine.
start launching. By the way, I love that. If you hold forward with the piranha, you just launch.
really easy to hit a wall that way, though.
Yeah, it's true.
We were originally going to have it, and I think it actually might still be here. The flying fish has a little bit of control when you're flying in zero gravity, so you're able to actually turn and control a little bit. But it turned out, like, in the end, actually, Piranha just ended up being the best, because you could just
Bite.
have him rotate and then bite at the right time, and that gives you enough force to kind of correct.
Oh, in my Frame Fatales run of this, I hit a wall, I think twice, 2 or 3 times with Piranha. I messed up, and Pufferfish had slid off his button, so I got stuck in zero gravity. But I was able to make my way back with the Piranha's lunges.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hit that. I'm gonna hit this button first because we have to wait a little bit of time for the gates to open or something, and then I'm gonna hit this with Puffer. Puffer has a tendency to fall off this button too. It's kind of a pain. Oop. As you can see.
Just like that.
Yep. Twice in a row. All right, looks good now.
And the context of this level is basically you have to shut the bay doors to basically
There we go.
re-enter atmosphere.
Hey, you know what? I'm glad I didn't miss the last button. I missed that last button all the time. 256 is fine. We're good with that. Okay.
Very good time.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess I'm pootloops. I speedrun I Am Fish, I Am Bread. I do a lot of Bossa games. I've been doing Kirby lately, and yeah, that's me. And I'd like to thank Speed Docs Marathon for hosting this. What a perfect game for this marathon. I Am Fish is just a lovely game to speedrun if you're interested. Reach out to Arnell, myself, or join the I Am Fish Discord, and we'd love to show you how to run it. And Arnell, in returns, say what you got to say. And
yeah, everybody, thank you for joining. Feel free to go to our page on speedrun.com, click the Discord link. We're very open to new runners. Would love to help anybody out. Very fun game to run, so we'd love to see you. Thanks for having me, Pootloops.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. That's I'm Fish. You've seen the whole thing now, so I guess you don't need to play it. But if you do want to, it is on Steam and Game Pass. So yeah.
Hey, playing it's a completely different experience.
A lot of stuff that you get to see if you play it normally.
Playing it's completely different.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I instantly thought of you guys this game, so thank you for submitting it. Thank you for the awesome showcase.
It's awesome.
And I challenge anybody to beat my time of 5 hours 8 minutes here in the chat.
That's still pretty good. That's pretty good, honestly.
It's certainly a time. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah. No, we had people who submitted their first run, and a lot of them were like 6 hours and stuff. So that's not bad. All right. I don't know what else we do here. Do I just
if that's
wave?
all you got, then we are good to go. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.